Hello, everyone. Brother Al McLean with this week's stewardship video. And as always, before we get started, let's read the disclaimer. No advice should be seen as a recommendation or endorsement, as I am not a licensed financial advisor and is for educational purposes only. You want to do your own research. So I am back in the saddle after being unable to record a customized video. I showed you one of my favorite YouTube videos of Earl Crowley last week. Hope you enjoyed it and was inspired by it. Well, this week I'm inspired by a scene that happened to me this week. Going to one of my favorite places, Starbucks. And see, this is not the actual picture, but this is a depiction of the morning by the time I got up to go to Starbucks. It was rush hour at Starbucks, and it was literally around the building. And I went to two locations where it was around the building with cars. And so I said, you know what? I'm just going to just go into work, make my own coffee there. And that's where I started reflecting on a workshop that I had taken at Watermark Church, which is local in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And the class was called Money Wise. And one of the things that we talked about is expenses. And what are some expenses that you currently do that there possibly could be a better use of the money? And mine was I had done a calculation on my latte or my coffee drinking. And in David Bach's book, which is called The Automatic Millionaire, he has a chapter that's called the latte factor. And the quote that starts off that chapter says, the problem is not how much we earn, it's how much we spend. And in here, he talks about how much his lattes were costing him. So I just started to do a calculation in the workshop and I put the results of that on the screen. So this is my transparent, authentic moment where I'm being just purging myself and being completely open to you about a habit that I can definitely do better things with the money. So here's the price of a venti caramel macchiato with extra espresso, extra vanilla, which is the way I get it, $7.79. Well, that'd be okay if it was, every couple of weeks or even once a week. But I had gotten to where I was doing this 6 days a week. The only day I didn't do it was Saturday. Now, I only did one, but just 6 days a week. That calculates to about 288 days in a year times $7.79. And here it is, the whopping figure of $2,243.52 spent on coffee in 1 year. And I talked to someone else who's in the financial field, and they said, "Hey, Al, don't feel bad. I did the same calculation, and mine was over $3,000." And so they had decided also, you know what? We need to start just bringing my own coffee or definitely cutting back. So what was my solution to a $2,243.52 coffee problem? Well, there you go. I went to scripture and I counted the cost. Luke 14:28 and 30 says, for which one of you, when he wants to build a tower, does not first sit down and calculate the cost to see if he has enough to complete it? Otherwise, when he has laid a foundation and is not unable to finish all, those who are watching will begin to ridicule him, saying, this person began to build and was not able to finish. And what I thought about it is goals that I may not be able to complete. For instance, how about a fully funded retirement? What about putting money into some long-term savings when it comes to maybe paying down the house? Maybe it's giving more to the kingdom, right? Counting the costs because it's not only just the literal cost, but it's opportunity cost when it comes to funding the kingdom, when it comes to funding investments, or as I said, retirement or paying off the house. So we need to sit down, as Luke 14:28 and 30 says, and count the cost. And as I said, what's the solution to counting that cost? Well, there you go. There's the coffee pot that's at our church. And there's my cup of coffee that I made and put some floured creamer in there. And it was just as good as Starbucks. It didn't cost me $7.79. So what's the reality? I want you all to hold me accountable. Feel free to email me, ask me how's it going. So going forward, my goal is to at least get down to maybe just one time a week I have a treat, or maybe every couple of weeks I have a treat at Starbucks, but definitely not to the figure of $2,000 worth. But hey, here's the solution. Make my own coffee. And a very simple solution, but that's a $2,000 solution. And with that, let's take a look at this week's earnings. And not a lot going on because we're at the end. The next time, I think it's in about 2 weeks, we'll lead off with the financials, but we are having Delta report. So that's by far the largest um, company that's reporting. Constellation Brands maybe also, but I don't think there's going to be movement of the market on any of these, even with Levi's. Just too few companies and not a lot of market capitalization in these companies that would affect it. But this will just get us ready for when the earnings seasons will be coming up in that all important now fourth quarter that we're in. But one of the things I did want to point out is I was watching CNBC. And once again, we've talked about it on these videos, the rare earth minerals that are so scarce and now have become even more important with the advent of AI and technology and the infrastructure building that's going on. So there was a USA Rare Earth Incorporated, which is in the rare minerals that it surged because of some um, investment by the US government in it. So it got me to looking at here are some rare earth companies that are exchanged, that are traded on the major exchanges. Materials Corporation, now I've dabbled in, got a position there. Once again, do your own research. Just because I say I'm utilizing or I'm in that particular stock doesn't mean it's right for you. And here's some other ones you might maybe pause and take a picture of these. Lithium Americas Corporation, that one has taken off this week also. And why? Because the US government has been showing that they're putting equity stakes in these companies. So Materials Corporation, a Neo Corporation, Energy Fuels, and you can see here the amount that the US government is actually taking positions and investments in this area. And Lithium Americas Corporation, that's why it took off, because a 5% stake in that. So these could be possible ones that you look at. And as I said, USA Rare Earth price went up because there was some discussions with the White House about potential government support. If you're saying, hey, I don't know which company, there is an exchange traded fund that has a little bit of all of those in there. And it's through the VanEck Rare Earth and Strategic Materials ETF. And that symbol is REMI or REMX. And as we always say, you can go to stockanalysis.com and go put this symbol in, and it'll give you the particular companies that are in this exchange traded fund. Another thing you can do is you can buy by dollar amount. For instance, through Fidelity, you can actually put REMX and just put a dollar amount in there, and Fidelity, you'll be able to transact that way. So let's close out by taking a look at the overall market, QQQ. This market just keeps going, right? Even without jobs reports, because the government shutdown is in place, the market is just ignoring the shutdown. We're now about 3 or 4 days into it, and the market just keeps going up, right? But that also means be cautious. This, I think it was Warren Buffett that says when people are greedy, be fearful. When people are fearful, that's that time and blood in the street. That's the time to go in and buy. So right now, be careful. Same thing with SPY. It's just going, right? Just the bull market continues, meaning that it's going up. Even, as I said, with government shutdown, still going. And with that, that's this week's stewardship video. And again, full transparency, being authentic with you all. Uh, let's say that $2,000 could have went to some rare earth minerals companies. So that's what I mean by the opportunity cost. And Definitely keep me accountable and say, hey, Al, are you still making your coffee at work or at home and taking it in? Because don't forget that opportunity cost you could be missing out on. So with that, that's this week's stewardship video. We look to see you next week. And as we always say, remember, Jesus is Lord, therefore he's the owner, and we follow his principles when it comes to biblical stewardship, but we play the role of following those principles as the faithful steward. And as my pastor Denny Dwight Davis says, have a good week, keep a good spirit, and have a yabba dabba do good time. We'll see you next week.